we've had an overview of the Managing Streets report, and we've seen the highlights of the number of government departments and policies, as well as challenges that are involved in managing numerous activities that take place on the street. And now we'll hear from our panel members who are leading the community initiatives that contribute to enhancing the public realm and making public space more vibrant. So Ada, over the last 3 years, Make a Difference social labs have tested different methodologies through action research to create community projects such as your Healthy Streets project with the Transport Department, as well as the Parks Labs with LCSD. Could you tell us more about these projects and the components that have contributed to the success of these efforts?
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. First of all, I can't say that social labs have been a success because we have just started. It's my pleasure to tell you a little bit more. And I think the starting point of social labs, the methodology, is very similar to this brilliant research that you have conducted. And that is, we believe that the people, the citizens, actually know best. So you have done, you have provided a legal framework and a lot of data and a lot of analysis on the street issues. Where we start is that we believe that we need to prototype. We need to have different platforms to prototype different solutions. And we use a lot of methodologies in innovation and in entrepreneurship where, like Mr. Dyson did 5,000 prototypes to turn up to have this vacuum cleaner that you all adore, right? So the prototyping experimentation mindset has been lacking in a lot of public policies. What social labs are is that, number one, it's only a temporary platform. So we're not a pressure group that is here to stay, but we group ourselves together for specific issues, and then we work with different government departments to solve the issues together with the citizens, and then we will disappear. So that's number one. Number two is that we believe that the people understand the problems best. Believe me, I have been urban councillor and district councillor for over 15 years, and I think that the people understand that the streets are very chaotic in Hong Kong, that you can extend the shop front, and the restaurant owners would love to have al fresco dining without paying anything. Everybody is a bit selfish when it comes to looking at the public realm and streets. But we all can also see that district organizations and a lot more young people these days, whether they're professionals or politicians or whatever, they have an interest in finding solutions to problems. So the social lab puts together, number one, people in the district, people who are really passionate about certain issues, and then the most important thing is that we have to work with government departments to identify the problems and then to create these little prototypes to give courage to the officers to say that, look, if you implement this, there's no complaint. So let me give you just one quick example, and that is to have pets in the park. So in our park lab last year, we had a number of experiments and prototypes, and one that I really enjoyed is we raised the question, why can't we have pets in the park? So you know that there is regulation, the parks regulation, which says no dogs allowed, and there no skating, no soccer, no singing, no dancing, no hawking, basically everything. You can just stand probably in the park. So we worked with the LCSD park managers, and we said, instead of changing the policy, can we do a few experiments? And we picked the park outside of Mei Fu. And for 2 Sundays, we roped in different areas of the park, and we said, pets are allowed. And the owners were really thrilled. The district councillors participated. And then there was no complaint. So the LCSD was actually quite relieved. So there's no complaint. So people actually enjoy it, and it's because of the different design measures that we have implemented. Those who don't really have pets at home feel that they are okay, they are safe in the park, while those who have pets really love the area, and the dogs were unleashed and roaming around in the park. So this is a very quick example for you to appreciate the power of social labs in experimentation. So at the moment we are in the middle of our Healthy Street Lab. While you have looked at pedestrianization, we also use streets as the core this time. We ask ourselves this question, and we are using Sham Shui Po as the testing ground. A lot of grassroots people live in Sham Shui Po, but the streets are narrow, lots of lorries, lots of illegal parking, and lots of street extensions. But we also see a lot of older people taking their grandchildren to school. And we see that people would really like to use the pedestrianized walkway. So what can we do to make the streets healthier? And, our partner is also, Clean Air Network is our partner, and two of them are here. They also, through their studies, they also recognize that Sham Shui Po is actually very polluted. So how can we make streets healthier? How can we make streets happier and safer for the people? And this is the question that we are diving into. And we will have some prototypes, which we call action days in the community in the coming months. And if you're interested in this issue, 3 of my team members are here, Rachel and Loretta and Shirley. They would be very happy to talk with you so that you can participate in our prototyping action days in the coming months. So perhaps I'll stop here, Michelle.
Okay, thank you, Ada. So, Chris, over to you. So recently, Berry Hong Kong ran a sandbox using a very exciting bottom-up process. And could you explain what you hope to achieve through Collaborate Hong Kong?
Yes. Well, firstly, the Very Hong Kong is a charity that Maggie Brooke and I run. It started 5 years ago. It's about community engagement and public space. Now, vibrant street and community engagement are in fact two sides of the same coin. You can think about a vibrant street that you like. For example, the Graham Street Market, or the Cross Street Market. You walk down that street, you see that there is a lot of people around, but more importantly, you engage with the people in there. And in those street markets, you find that it is not only selling and buying. In fact, there is a community. In Wan Chai, a lot of the elderly people actually go there, down to the Cross Street Market. That's actually their social center. There is a vibrant community on the street. That is why community engagement is really the cornerstone of a vibrant street. Now, Very Hong Kong has been doing action research on how community can get engaged in making use of public streets, like Star Street in Wan Chai, like Aberdeen Waterfront. And we held a lot of action research program. And we found that it's actually not that easy for community to get engaged in making our street better. So we started a research program called Collaborate Hong Kong. In the last few months, we have been talking to many community organizations. We get them to come to our focus group. We got them to come to our interviews. We talked to many of them, and we involved hundreds of people and over 50 community organizations. And almost overwhelmingly, they told us that they want to get involved in making our street better. But also at the same time, they told us in a very kind of dejected manner that they find it impossible to get engaged. And the reason is very close to what Corinne talked about. It's right now the bureaucracy is just overwhelming, and the and the application process, whether it is kind of 9 departments or, as Ellen said, 19 departments or over 20 departments, whatever it is, it's just impossible for the community to get involved. It's just too much, too difficult. So we held a sandbox activity. It's like a charrette, but it's actually much more fun than a normal charrette. Because firstly, we actually asked the community to get together with various disciplines. So you have a business consultant, you have community groups, you have planners and architects, social workers. They all got together and they chose different sites all over Hong Kong to see if you don't have those bureaucratic constraints, if the government is more joined up, and if there are capacity building organization that would assist you and help you to make things happen, what would you do? Now, we actually found that there is lots of wonderful, interesting ideas, but not only ideas, also a lot of enthusiasm and energy in wanting to make it happen. Now, firstly, we found that there is a lot of knowledge, know-how that the community has, and that's exactly what Ada told us, that we in an office simply cannot think up. For example, some people say that a public space not far away from here in Sheung Wan is every morning at 3 a.m. in the morning. Many of the cyclists in Hong Kong at 3 a.m. would gather. And then they would use that as the starting point to cycle all up and down Hong Kong Island. Now, that's actually a wonderful community effort, making use of public space in Hong Kong. And then at the other end of the island, there is actually a piece of open space linking Shau Kei Wan, the lower end of Shau Kei Wan, and also the higher road, that the local resident would love to cut through so that they can easily get from where they live down to the downtown of Shau Kei Wan. Now, all those are community know-how. But more than know-how, there is a lot of community energy. They want to get together and do it themselves. They want to run it. They want to apply to the government to let them improve those areas and run those areas. And they also have a lot of resources. They start to think, well, okay, we can probably try to raise funds this way and that way. There is probably a local bank that might want to donate to build some park benches and improve a park. There might be crowdfunding method. So local resources as well. So know-how, energy, and resources to do things and run things. So that's what we've done. In hopefully around the 12th of May, we would hold a presentation in Central to show the outcome of the sandbox. And we hope that you would like to, or you would spend the time to come and see the result of those presentations.
I don't know if it's too early, but could you explain a little bit about the one-stop shop that you're exploring?
Yes.
And proposing?
Yes. In fact, we see that very similar to what Corinne talked about. Firstly, I think the government need to join up a bit more. So it would be essential to have a one-stop shop process within the government to take up community initiative and then coordinate and then hopefully champion the good projects. Now, that would also be assisted by a one-stop shop outside of the government. And that is actually what Ada said earlier. It is actually necessary to have capacity building outside of the government, an organization that help this community group to come up with their proposal, to probably inject some professional know-how, engineering know-how, architectural planning know-how, and also maybe some business model planning to build the capacity in the community so that there is inside and outside of the government the mechanism to help community group to make the dream a reality.
Thank you very much. Jennifer. So 4% of Hong Kong land is used for roads, which is equivalent to 4% of the land which is used for public and private housing, excluding villages. Could you tell us about Walk DVRC's efforts to expand the scope of street to be part of public open space, and what is envisioned and why?
Thanks, Michelle. I can also give you another 4% statistic.
Okay.
Louder? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I can also give you another 4% statistic, and that is the rate at which private car ownership is increasing per year. Okay, so this is kind of, our number one issue that we need to value, and this is part of our mission and philosophy. We need to value people over cars. We need to look at placemaking initiatives and placemaking efforts. So Walk DVRC, which is the organization I represent, has a mission to pedestrianize a 1.4 stretch of road, which is a key central artery in Hong Kong. Not complete pedestrianization, but with road sharing, so there would still be interaction with the trams and there would still be one lane of traffic open, but to make it a destination. So we believe that if we revitalize DVRC and connect it to the local cultural and heritage sites that surround it, we are making it a placemaking effort and giving it a destination. So you might wake up on a Sunday morning, which you would never do now, and say, hey, I'll go to DVRC, which is, if you look at our central business district, which is DVRC at the moment, you can see that it's not walkable, it's not pleasant, it's not whatever. What's heartening is that we try to push this effort forward from the top and from the bottom. So definitely we need grassroots, we need community support, but we also need top support. And to Chris's comment, it's too difficult. The quote we got from Carrie Lam was exactly that. It's too difficult. So this is an effort that's been going on for 18 years. And we finally, 2 years ago, pedestrianized a very small section of the road, 2 blocks. And it took over 20 different approvals to get it done. So it's step by step, it's little by little. Today's
Do you have any
youth,
suggestions for improving that process?
yes, well, I think now today's youth wants something different from what their forebears had in terms of urban planning. They value their smartphones over cars. There needs to be bigger use of promotion for things like walkability, for health. The stretch of road that we're talking about is the most polluted stretch of road on Hong Kong Island. And there also needs to be something done that gives the streets back to the people. Streets don't belong to cars. Cars don't vote. It's people who vote. And people need a vibrant, safe place in which to walk, and particularly one that's inclusive. As Hong Kong's population ages, as more and more people want to do things on the street and they want to say what they can do on the street, there needs to be furniture on the streets. There needs to be greening on the streets. There needs to be this kind of thing for the public. So I think that just getting the word out, which is what we're trying to do, as I said, what's heartening for us is that when we explain this to someone, no one says, oh God, that's a bad idea. I mean, most everyone says, wow, that this could be very interesting. And I think that one of the reasons that DVRC is interesting is that it's kind of already a defined space. A lot of work has already been gone into understanding what's going on in the street. We've talked to shop owners, we've talked to a lot of people, so it's step by step. As Chris said, it's little by little overcoming one hurdle after the other.
Okay. So I think I'm going to open to the floor so that you can also be part of the discussion. And if we don't get questions, I'll have more questions for the panelists. Because I think we have really exciting community initiatives that we're featuring today, which tie in directly of how to contribute to vibrant streets. And a lot of you in the room are also involved in these processes in your districts, through your NGOs, through your government departments. So I don't know if any of you have any questions for the panel members. Okay, Cindy.
I'm Cindy from SPCA, actually previously from St. Exchange. Really like to follow what Ada just said about the pet access to public open space. In fact, this is one of the areas that SPCA will be focusing on in the coming year. We hope to collaborate with you. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have a question for the panelists. So the government is really receptive to street management, and it is part of this current government's policy. And we have an opportunity to really influence this process. Do you have any suggestions of how we can capitalize on this agenda?
Let me try to say something first, and I think everybody can chip in. I think we might have to have a little bit more empathy and to think from the perspective of the mid-ranking government official who takes in all the complaints every single day. I never realized that even assistant directors at the LCSD would pick up the phone and would really get shoutings from angry citizens on a daily basis. Somehow their extension just connected to the main line. I don't know what happened, but you know, if you think from their point of view, you will see that there are quite a number of youngish civil servants who wouldn't mind changing the things that they have been doing because they know that it's not working anymore. But, you know, they always blame the district council for blocking all their initiatives. And they blame the media for trashing their initiatives. And so you know, the social lab is something that is very experimental. I really don't know how it could be successful or not. But what I have found out is that they find comfort in knowing that we're not here to stay. We're not going to complain to them, but we want to rope in the angry citizens and the complaining district councillors together so that we look at the problems together and we go and interview the community together. We hear the views of the shop owners, the restaurant owners, and, you know, the people who frequent the streets, and we get all their views so that we can come up with different experiments, and then they try the experiments together. So I think, you know, whatever we call it, we need to have these co-creative platforms with the civil servants and with civil society. And by co-creating different situations for them, I think that they will be less hesitant and less afraid to make things happen.
Yeah, I think it is now a very, very good opportunity. I think we have a golden opportunity. Firstly, I think the government is now into effort to join up various silos within the administration. So I think the idea of a coordination office or join up office would go down quite well within the present administration. And secondly, I think we can build from successful examples, either extending existing examples or creating pilot projects. Existing example, one is, I think, at least the partial success of Energizing Kowloon East. The office managed to create certain degree of street life in an area that was formerly mainly for lorries and industrial use. But then there are other existing examples that we can build on. The Tai Hang Fire Dragon and the Ghost Festival, the Yulan Singhui on Staunton Street are two very good examples that the community can get together and make the street really vibrant, despite they were really literally playing with fire in both cases. The Fire Dragon every year, it's noise and it's fire, and the community actually worked closely together with the administration to make the street vibrant, and every year deal with issue of noise, of nuisance, of complaint, and so on successfully. Now we can actually build on how those things are organized, how it works, and then based on those actually extend the remits of pilot cases like those. And in addition of those, There are now the Blue House that Ada and Maggie and many other in this room are instrumental in making it happen. Again, it's about the community working together in conjunction with the administration to manage what is seemingly impossible projects. So I think trying to get a few pilot projects extended and then also new pilot projects to happen would be the next step to go.
Just to expand on that a little bit, I do think it's public education. I think it's letting people know that there is a possibility that things could be better than they are, that there is some way to disincentivize cars and to promote walking and to let people understand that what they're walking in now is unhealthy, it perhaps is unsafe, and that it's not getting better, it's actually getting worse. So I think that a lot of the media can help us. There are a lot of, charrettes, there are a lot of things that are happening at the moment, and I think that the level is creeping up. I think that actually walkability is now on everyone's radar. It's a question of now pushing it one step forward.
Okay.
Steve, I just want to extend this and then Chris talked about grassroots, Ada talked about and government officials.
Yes.
I want to extend it further to top of the government. You see in London, there's the successive mayors have created the 100 public space initiative. Yes. There's also the London Great Outdoors under Boris Johnson. In Seoul, successive mayors have done the same with different public spaces. But it seems that this urban agenda hasn't really reached up to the very top level of the government in Hong Kong. Do you see this ever becoming the case in Hong Kong? Or do we just give up on this route and go for the grassroots level initiatives?
Well, I'm going to jump in first. I think that one of the recommendations in the report is precisely this, trying to find a solution that could work in Hong Kong, which is why this betterment city official is proposed, so that you have a kind of body that can handle the urban experience, not only pedestrianization, but more broadly. But how that would function is something that would have to be particular to Hong Kong. But I'll let Chris jump in because he seems to maybe want to speak as well.
In fact, I totally agree. I think having something like a city betterment head would be the right way to go. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it would also help if they could see the tangible benefit, the tangible policy benefit out of making all these things happen. Right now, I don't think there is enough research and enough articulation of the macroeconomic benefit and the long-term social benefit of a sound urban public space policy. In fact, I personally believe that the long-term economic benefit of that is enormous, and the investment into it would pale insignificant in comparison with the benefit we get out of it at the end of the day. But it has to be articulated so that when people in the government start kind of making policy decisions, they would have something to hang on.
Paul, was it you to suggest that we should have a mayor? Yeah, I think you did that one time. Well, I think our chief executive is the chief executive, and I hope that. And I think she does have a mayor mindset, but her time is spent on all these big controversies, political controversies, and this urban agenda, the city betterment agenda, is really not very, very high on her agenda, which is actually a big pity, because I think she knows what should be done, and she knows that a joined-up government is necessary. So I don't know what's the solution. Maybe we need a deputy chief executive as a mayor, something like that.
Paul, you had a question?
Yeah.
Or comment?
Yeah, just to follow up on some of the comments that you made. I like the London idea, but and I tried to link that to what Ada just said. I mean, we know that Carrie Lam would be the best opportunity to be a mayor and to lead it, but she doesn't because we're keeping her busy with lots of other stuff, Taiwan speeches or whatever. So knowing that that's the situation, my question would be then, should we lead it? Should we have that betterment, Hong Kong betterment program? And there's enough people in the room here that are doing something in that sphere, whether this should be led by us, trying to drive it, whether it's I like the idea of 100, try to identify those within Hong Kong and try to put a program together. I also like the idea, and there are multiple things we might want to do, but that's one. The social lab with FEHD on how do we change the law, try to get the police in the FEHD and the Home Affairs Department in the room. It's a hard one, I know. And then try to do a social lab around that in terms of the legal changes that you have suggested. Because otherwise, where do you start on the legal changes? But I think the legal change probably needs a social lab. Pilot studies, then it becomes to a pilot area. Where do you do a pilot area that is, again, today, pedestrianisation? Which one is that then? DVRC is very difficult because you have to reroute massive amount of traffic, which is your impediment on that as a pilot area. You can't easily do that as a pilot. That's a big project to do. Are there other areas that can be pilot areas that can be taken forward by some of us? So I just wonder whether out of this, we can have a series of initiatives that people can take that are going to make it easy for Kerry to pick up one of them when she has a bit more time. But that they prepped, because we put a bare bones on her desk as an idea, it's not going to move. It's got to be prepped. It's got to be something that's running that she can pick up. That's my suggestion.
We could have 100 public space program for Hong Kong as well.
Well, for example, you could map it out and try to promote that. It could be one idea, and then you can try to develop those ideas with all the various district councillors and try to, out of the communities, come up with those ideas. But that would be one suggestion. But I think Kerry needs something that is running, that she can pick it up because she only got 3 years left by the time she gets out of the trouble that she's in.
So Louis really wants to jump in on this conversation. So Louis, the mic is over to you.
Hi, just responding to Chris's point and Ada's point about, the chief executive really wanted to do something, but she's really occupied, she doesn't have enough time. Well, one way is to articulate what Chris said. He said, we need to articulate the economic and long-term values of making public realm better. There's lots of research out there in other parts of the world that show that making better places has long-term sustainability and long-term economic values. Now, if Hong Kong is so concerned about its long-term sustainability, its economic competitiveness is the word that we love, then somehow we need to do that bit of research to show that this small thing, which seems insignificant, actually will play a big part in the things that matter to Carrie. I think that's the articulation that needs to be made.
But I think yours is a study, and what Paul is trying to do is to have more action-oriented.
Yeah, but I think all those things need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, in parallel.
Yeah, because right now the attention on economics is all on, let's say, listing for biotech companies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah? Now,
exactly.
It's going outside Hong Kong, one belt, one road.
Yeah, but most of those companies are actually outside of Hong Kong. I mean, the researchers, the manufacturing, they're all outside of Hong Kong, in Silicon Valley and all that. Whereas this kind of thing would actually create more local jobs, would promote local tourism, would build a lot more internal consumption. So the long-term economic benefit of vibrant street is actually much more than getting a percentage out of the IPO.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Alan.
We're trying to do in this initiative here around us. We were working for Hong Kong Land, and their objective was to enhance the walkability of their area. Clearly, they had commercial objectives in mind as well. A better-looking place is a place where people will come to. And they had multiple coverings on the sidewalks. And they wanted to homogenize these and create a distinct identity for the whole area that would be pleasant to use and convenient to use. It's taken nearly 15 years to implement that through all the institutional measures that we've been talking about, and the 6 plant pots that I referred to earlier, the culmination of this 15 years of work. But it's certainly a better looking place and a more walkable place, which we've managed to achieve here, is genuinely something that we should be striving for.
With respect to a more global initiative in Hong Kong, I think we should be looking at applying basic principles, once we've established those, to a specific district and do an ongoing series of area improvement programs rather than trying to do everything at once. I think it's extremely dangerous to do that because you have to learn lessons to ensure that things are improved. So that's how I would go about it. And to some extent, we're trying to do this in the walkability study that TD's commissioned ourselves, Urbis and Mott MacDonald to do. We will be looking at a pilot study, but there's an enormous amount to be learned. And finally, sadly, there isn't a lot of work that's been done that is not out in the public realm. We did studies in 2001 for Highways Department that are not out in the public realm, which is rather sad. And stuff tends to get left behind in the cupboard and forgotten about. It's great that you've come up with these initiatives, so I would encourage you to keep going.
What did you do for highways?
It was a district enhancement program looking at means of improving circulation within districts and then to come up with prototypical streetscape hard and soft treatments that could be applied throughout Hong Kong. None of it was implemented, apart from one thing, the new street signs. The ones that have got the street numbers. That's the only thing that was implemented out of that whole study.
But that report got to be somewhere available.
It was before the days when things were put on the internet.
But we can find one on the street somewhere, isn't it?
Okay, I think we can continue this conversation outside of the room. But are there any more questions? Okay, so I have one final question to the three panelists. Okay, what are your three recommendations for improving vibrancy on Hong Kong streets?
Just three?
Well, we could spend all day here, but I think everybody's been incredibly patient.
I think number one is it needs to be an inclusive place. A street needs to be inclusive. It needs to let you have a flexible amount of activities. There's an article that was written called The Power of 10 that says for a public space to be truly used and interesting, it has to have 10 elements that attract people to it. So people need to want to come to it, number one. They need access to water, perhaps some technology. Our streets are incredibly technology poor. They need access to human contact, the ability to sit, socialize, seating, street furniture. I think I'm over my three. Okay, sorry.
Okay, Ada, over to you.
Maybe not even three. I hope streets could be people-led and not car-led. If that's the main principle, that's the starting point. I think we can actually get a lot of different departments together and work on it.
And Chris?
Well, community, design, and policy. I think those are the three. Probably in that order. I think the community has a major role to lead it, because after all, that's actually where the comes from. But design is important. Today we actually underplay the importance of design. Designing for community involvement, participation, flexibility, creativity require a completely different mindset of design. That is different from the way you would design a supermarket or a shopping center. That is absolutely kind of fixed. So design, and of course, what is needed at the end of it is actually the policy framework to support it, allow it, and encourage all of these to happen.
Well, please join me in thanking each of the panel members for sharing their exciting initiatives, which are contributing to a more positive pedestrian experience and making our streets more vibrant.